very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants and the candidates for this NPTEL MOOC course, the title of which is Application of Forecasting, Regression and Time Series Models. And my good name is Raghunandan Sengupta from the IME department at IIT Kanpur. So, as all of you are aware, the three main topics for this course are forecasting, second one is regression, and third one is time series. And as you are aware that we are following and covering the concept of averaging techniques and forecasting. This is week 2, 10th lecture, which means with this lecture we will end week number 2. Coverage for this lecture would be continuation of averaging techniques which we were discussing. And for the problem, we will draw the diagrams as I said and explain it in more details. Now consider the concept of 2 cross 6 month moving average. So, that means you are going to take a block of 6, find out the average and then take such 2 blocks accordingly. And remember, we are trying to find out the 2 cross 6 month moving average for y naught. That is important to be noted. So, let us denote the corresponding values for the first block. So, if y naught, if you remember, it is here. So, you have 3 such values onto the left of y naught, which are y minus 3, y minus 2, y minus 1. This minus 3, minus 2, minus 1 are the suffix, that means corresponding to the 3 values onto the left of y naught. And the 2 values onto the right of y naught are, or y suffix 0 are y suffix plus 1, y suffix plus 2. So, that is the first month set of 6 months. The next set of 6 months is, because if you remember we are taking 2 cross 6. So, the second 6 months block is y naught will move 1 notch to the left, in the sense that you have 2 such values to be considered when you are trying to find out 2 cross 6 for the forecasted value of y naught. The corresponding 2 left values for the second block would be y suffix minus 2, y suffix minus 1, as you can see. And the 3 such values onto the right of y naught would be y suffix plus 1, y suffix plus 2, y suffix plus 3. And taking an averages of these 6 blocks together. So, first block, second block, when you do, the corresponding weightages which comes out would be with such a value such that the denominator would be 12, because it is 2 cross 6, and the corresponding weightages which you will have would be for y minus 3, suffix minus 3 is 1 by 12, for y minus 2 is 2 by 12, y minus 1 is 2 by 12, y naught is 2 by 12, y plus 1 is 2 by 12, y plus 2 is 2 by 12 and y plus 3 is 1 by 12. So, if I write down all the weightages, so 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7, 7 plus 2 is 9, 9 plus 2 is 11, 11 plus 1 is 12. So, 12 by 12 is 1, hence the weightages add up to be 1 as it should be. Now, let us consider the 4 cross 6. So, initially we have 2 cross 6, now we are considering 4 such blocks of 6 data points each. And remember, we are trying to find out the forecasted value for y naught. So, where would y naught be placed in all these 4 blocks of each being of 6 different values? So, now pay attention to the for the 4 such blocks which you have. Blocks means 6 blocks in each. The first one is where you have y naught here, and the corresponding values onto the left of y naught are y suffix minus 4, y suffix minus 3, y suffix minus 2, y suffix minus 1, and the one value onto the right is y suffix plus 1. So, that is the first block. Then you shift y in such a way, now you would have, when you shift, you will have not 4 values, but 3 values onto the left of y naught, which are y minus 3. I am mentioning minus 3 means the suffix, y minus 2, y minus 1, then y naught, and the 2 values, because if we have shifted onto the left. So, one value will come from the right, which would be y plus 2, hence the 2 values onto the right of y naught is y plus 1, and y plus 2 as marked here. Then again I shift y naught one notch to the left. So, the corresponding values which you have onto the left of y naught are y minus 2, y minus 1, and the corresponding values which are there onto the right of y naught is y plus 1, y plus 2, y plus 3. And finally, this color should have been different, but I will make it in the slide when they are shared with you. So, when y naught moves onto the left, one notch, the corresponding values onto the left of y naught is y minus 1, and the corresponding values to the right of y naught is y plus 1, y plus 2, y plus 3, y plus 4. So, if you remember, in all the 4 blocks there are 6 values each, and you are taking such 4 blocks. Hence, the denominator which will be there for the weightages would be 4 into 6, which is 24. So, if I consider it, the corresponding values which will come out for 4 cross 6 for y naught, and the weightages are, for y minus 4 is 124, y minus 3 is 2 by 24, y minus 2 is 3 by 24, y minus 1 is equal to 4 by 24, y naught is 4 by 24, y plus 1 is 4 by 24, y plus 2 is 3 by 24, y plus 3 is 2 by 24, and y plus 4 is 1 by 24. So, if you see all the weights, it is 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 4 14, plus 4 18, plus 3 21, plus 2 21 22, plus 1 2 and 3 4 5 6, 10 14 18 19 20 21 22 23 and 24. This is 24 by 24, which comes out to be 1, as the case should be. Now, let us go. I am considering different examples such that things are made much clear to you. Let us consider the 3 cross 3. So, till now we had even numbers, if you remember, 2 cross 6, 4 cross 6, now we are considering 3 cross 3. Now, the question can be, can it be even odd combinations like 2 cross 3, can it be 3 cross 4? Yes, it can be, but only that you have to write it in detail such that there is no confusion. So, let us consider the case of 3 cross 3 moving average, considering the point that we want to forecast for y naught. Always the focus is on y naught. So, if I have y naught, which means that it will be 3 blocks, each of 3. So, in the first block you will have y naught here and 2 values onto the left of y naught, which is y minus 2 and y minus 1. In the second block you have y naught in the middle, and you have one value to the left, which is y minus 1, one value to the right, which is y plus 1. And in the third block, which is shown in green, this coloring scheme has been done such that there is no confusion when you go through the slides. And for the third block, y naught is onto the left and the 2 values onto the right is y plus 1 and y plus 2. So, as it is 3 cross 3, hence the denominator in the case of the weightages will be 9. So, the weights which you have is for y minus 2 is 1/9, for y minus 1 is 2/9, for y naught is 3/9, for y plus 1 is 2/9 and y plus 2 is 1/9. So, the weight adds up to 2 plus 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 2 is 8, 8 plus 1 is 9. So, it is 9 by 9 and it is 1 as it should be. Now, the question may suddenly arise, or it would have come in your mind, that why I am trying to basically find out the weightages and why do I keep repeating the weightages values, and this point would become clear very soon. Now, let us consider 5 cross 4 cross 4, that means there are 3 steps. So, if I consider 5 cross 4 plus 4, so obviously the corresponding weightages in the denominator would be calculated by considering the values, and there are 4 blocks taken 4 times, and such 4 cross 4 blocks are taken 5 times, and this is where I will highlight. Again you are taking the forecasting value corresponding to the fact that you want to find out for y naught. Now, let us consider the first 4 blocks and they are colored accordingly. So, let us consider this. In the first block, which I will highlight and just put a mark, sorry, it is hiding the values. So, the first value is this. So, there are 4 blocks. So, what is the first block? Is y minus 5, y minus 4, y minus 3, y minus 2. Then the first block, I would rather rephrase the sentence, it is the first element in the first block. So, the second element is y minus 4 because it has moved one notch to the right, y minus 3, y minus 2, 3, y minus 4, y minus 3, y minus 2, y minus 1. The third such set of numbers are y minus 3, y minus 2, y minus 1, y naught. So, y naught is coming, and the fourth such set of numbers are y minus 2, y minus 1, y naught, y plus 1. So, that all these values divided by 4, because 4 numbers divide by 4, hence it becomes 4 cross 4. The second block is marked in blue, this one. The third such block is marked in green. The fourth block is marked in red, and the fifth one is marked in pink. So, if I consider all these things and take 5 cross 4 plus 4, please pay attention to the values here. Then it becomes, if you remember, it was 5 cross 4 plus 4, which is 5 into 4 is 20, 20 into 4 is 80. So, 80 comes in the denominator for the weightages, and the corresponding weightages would be, because we have started with y minus 5 to the left and ended with y plus 5 on the right. Hence, the weightages are 1 by 80 for y minus 5, 3 by 80 for y minus 4, 6 by 80 for y minus 3, 10 by 80 for y minus 2, 13 by 80 for y minus 1, 14 by 80 for y naught, 13 by 80 for y 1 plus 1, 10 by 80 for y plus 3, 6 by 80 for y plus 4, and I missed something. So, it would be 10 by 80 for y plus 2, 6 by 80 for y plus 3, 3 by 80 for y plus 4, and 1 by 80 by y plus 5. So, if you see now, the weightages basically start increasing from the extreme left, peaks at the value where you are trying to find out this corresponding forecast, which is y naught here, and again slowly decrease on to the right. That is point 1. Point number 2, if you remember, when we were talking about the weightages, I had in the first slide, I had used the weightages as A minus M corresponding to y t minus m value or f t minus m value. Then it was A naught for y naught or f naught, and the right extreme weightages was A t plus m or A plus m, A suffix m for f t plus m. And I also mentioned that they are symmetric, and this is what is coming out to be true, in the sense the central value which is for y naught is the highest, which is 14 by 80, and the corresponding values on to the left and the right are slowly decreasing as you go more to the left and slowly decreasing as you go more to the right. But interestingly, they are of equal values, that means 13 by 80, 13 by 80, 10 by 80, 10 by 80. 6 by 80, 6 by 80, 3 by 80, 3 by 80, 1 by 80 and 1 by 80. That means, now if I am able to concentrate and find out the histogram slowly looks like a very smooth curve. So, these are the weightages which I have, if you remember. So, weightages assigned to y values calculated in the example of 5 cross 4 plus 4 moving average. And the histogram, very interestingly, comes out to be a normal distribution, and that is what has been the main focus for all these set of discussion which we were having in the last class, which was the 9th session, and also in this 10th session, which means that we are slowly assuming the central value to be the mean value based on which we will try to calculate. And obviously, the trend or the average would increase or decrease, that is a different question, we will consider it later in different models. But the main emphasis is that equal weightages are being given for the past and the future values, such that the main emphasis of the weightage is on the central value for which we are trying to focus and find our estimate. And normal distribution, as you know, has the same mean, median, mode, and the variance is equally dispersed. The dispersion is equally dispersed onto the right hand side and the left hand side. Now, using those calculations which we discussed at length in details for the 3-month moving average, for the data for the passengers in yearly and traveling for the number of years which has been considered, this is the 3-month moving average graph which you have. And if you see in the x axis, we have the months because it was given in months, and in the y axis it basically the numbers which was given in lakhs. So, here you see a movement or the value of the 3-month moving average. Now, few important information which I will try to highlight using the orange color. If you see, for this half it is increasing, then half means the number of months which you have. So, if I consider, is basically considers the month starting February to February 1 year, February to February 2 years, and then another February to August, which means March, April, May, June, July, August, 6 months, which is for 2.5 years, the average is slowly increasing. Obviously, there is a variability. For the next phase, the average is almost fixed. This is the very simple deduction which I am making. Starting from August, if I consider till August, which means August to August 1 year, August to August 2 years, August to August 3 years, that means for 3 years it is fixed, which means here you have 3 years where there is fluctuation, but the value, average value is almost fixed. For the first case, for 2.5 years, it is increasing. There is a trend, and in the next phase again is the increasing. That means, starting from August to August, then August to August 2 years, and then September, October, November, December. That means, almost 2.4, let us consider about 2.5 years only. There is 2 months pending, but let us consider 2.5, which is 2 years and 6 months. Now, very interestingly, one fact should be easily discernible. If you see the first 2.5 months, leave the next 2.5 years, leave the 3 years next, and the next 2.5 years or 2.5 years, the trend is similar. That means, it is increasing. I will use the green color now. So, here is the one and here is the one. So, if you replicate and put them on top of each other, you will see there is the peak and a trough, and it is almost replicated for the 2.5 years with respect to the 2.5 years which was before, with a 3 years gap in between. That means, if I consider these 3 years gap, which means the corresponding flow or movement of the traffic of passengers is being replicated. Hence, there is a trend, but the trend for the second green line, which is, I will put it as the second green line, with respect to the first green line, the second one, the trend is higher, 0.1. But if you see, there is a cyclicity. I am saying these are very simple deduction we are trying to make from the diagram. So, there is a cyclicity or seasonality or some up and down movement of the numbers. We will consider that later on. Now, this is the 5-month moving average. Now, if you consider the 3-month moving average with the 5-month moving average, the 5-month moving average is slowly smoothing in down, because you are taking more values to find out the average. So, they will slowly turn out to be the long run trend. Any fluctuations, you are basically pushing it more towards the mean value, because more number of data point you are taking. 5 month means 5 such blocks, 3 month means 3 such blocks. Blocks means with 3 different values in that block. 5 month means there are 5 such values in the block. I am not going to consider now for the time being 2 cross 5 or 2 cross 3, I am only considering one block at a time. Here it is more smoothened out. So, this is the first, then you have the second, and then you have the third. So, again considering, even though it may not have been drawn perfectly the vertical green and the red line, but again I want to highlight this is about 2.5 years. The green one, as you remember, we have done it for 3.0 years, so 3 years, and the last phase was also about 4 months, but we will consider 2.5 years or 2 years 6 months. Now, if I go into the 2 cross 4 moving average, so these diagrams are basically different ways of trying to depict, which means you are taking 4 month moving average and but taking 2 months block and combine 2 such 4 month block and combining them. So, if I see it also, the replication for this part which I have mentioned, they seem to be following a certain trend. Even if that is true, but do remember the average trend for these two highlighted areas are different. The pattern may be same, but the average increase for the first green one and the second green one, where the first green one is for the first 2.5 years and the second green one is the next to next 2.5 years with a gap of 3 years. So, this 2.5 3 years are just a visual confirmation as we have seen in the diagram. Now, if I consider the values all considered together. So, here is the coloring scheme. The blue one is for the actual data, which is Y, the dark red, the gray, the yellow and the light blue one are corresponding for 3 month 1, 3 month 2, 3 month 3 and 3 month 3 cross 3. That means 3 cross 3 which you have here, this one is basically the averages of these 3 taken together. As you remember, 3 cross 3 MA is basically combining 3 MA1, then 3 MA2 and 3 MA3. So, 3 MA1 is here, 3 MA2, this is a gray one, I will use the black color in denote here, and the yellow one, orange one, which is for 3 month 3. So, we combine them to get the values. Now, if we see the diagram, I will erase this part. So, 3 month 3 would be the smoothest because you are taking the averages of such 3 blocks, and that is very easily discernible from the diagram. So, if you see the blue one, I will use now the pen, because till now I have been using the highlighter because to make the letters or whatever are light or the numeric to be bold. But considering there are 5 such graphs here, I will use the pen here with the corresponding color. So, if you see the blue one, this is very smooth because it is taking the averages of 3 terms 3 MA1, 3 MA2, 3 MA3, where the important fact between 3 MA1, 2 and 3 would be the point that when I am taking the 3 MA1, so I will considering the values of the block to the right. 3 MA2 would be the block to the middle and 3 MA3 would be block to the 3. This is the nomenclature I am using. So, 3MA1 is if I am considering the block to the right. So, obviously, those values would be more shifted to the right, as you can see the graph between the orange one, the gray one and the yellow one. Yellow one, which is 3MA3, is for the block to the left, extreme left, if onto the left, hence it is shifted onto the left. Gray one is one notch shift to the right, and the orange one, which is 3MA1, onto the right, more onto the right. Now, the question can be that why I am considering 3MA1, 2, 3 in that case. There is no sacrosanct and no fixed concept here. You can consider 3MA1 to the most on the left, 3MA2 to the middle and 3MA3 to the right. So, based on that, how you define would basically be the fact how the diagram would be drawn. Now, once I do that, I find out the errors. Errors are, if you remember, is 3MA1, 2, 3 and 3 cross 3. So, even though they are all too cluttered, but please excuse me, the coloring scheme which I have used is for the blue one, dark blue one is for error 1, which is for 3MA1, light blue one is for 3MA2, the black one is for 3MA3 and the gray one is for 3 cross 3. And very interestingly, you see there is a pattern of the errors. So, the pattern of the errors considering 3MA1, 3MA2, 3MA3 and 3 cross 3, you see the errors in the first half when you are considering number of data points to be about 90 here. If you see, these are along the x axis. For the time frame from 1 to 15, they are positive and negative. So, that means the addition of the errors would add up to 0. But for the time frame starting from 15 to about 50, the errors are all positive and it keeps increasing. So, obviously, it gives us the information that the moving averages calculation based on the fact that we want to utilize it for further on to calculate and forecast is not giving us the right result. And that point is furthermore clarified by the fact that if I see the error starting from 50 and go to about 90, the error explodes, which means if the error is exploding, the concept of variability is playing a big part such that there are trends. The word trend I am not using from the point of view of average. Trend means how the overall the values fluctuate such that variability is playing a part. And the concept of the moving average of 3 month, 1, 2, 3 and 3 cross 3 are not giving us the right result. Now, the question may crop up is that if it is not, why did we use that? The answer from my side was that we are trying to highlight the concept which are being used, how the moving average would be used. But what is the right model, we will soon see that whether it is the moving average, whether it is the exponential moving average, whether the exponential moving average with fixed parameters or with fluctuating parameters or the Holt linear method or the Holt Winter method, those would slowly become much more realistic as we consider all the models, and we will consider the metric. If you remember, mean absolute error, then percentage error, weighted percentage error, all these things will be utilized as a metric to find out which model will give us the best result, and obviously there is a U statistic also. So, with this I will end this 10th class or 10th session, which is the end of week 2, and consider furthermore examples to illustrate all the models which we have to discuss under the forecasting concept. Thank you very much and have a nice day.